Many thanks for choosing us first. Joy News can confirm that Air flight 9N823 AM did in fact land in Ghana, remaining in Accra for 5 days before returning to Gran Canaria, its point of origin. This comes in response to concerns raised by the minority in Parliament regarding the flights and their activities within the country. The ranking member of Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, Reverend Intim Fojo, provided further details on the flight, alleging that both the air ambulance and another private jet may have been linked to drug trafficking or money laundering activities.
Of Air flights and Cavoc Air private jets transporting suspected cocaine and cash. Ladies and gentlemen, on another security matter related to our airspace, the Minority Caucus calls on national security to, as a matter of urgency, make public the content of cargo suspected to be cocaine and cash transported into the country by two suspicious flights, namely Air flights N823 AM and Cavoc Air private jets Antonov and 12B, which landed on the tarmac of Kotoka International Airport in March 2025 from Gran Canaria, an island of Spain, and departed to the same Gran Canaria days after their arrival. Reliable intelligence intercepted by the Minority Caucus indicates that on March 20th, 2025, Air flights N823 AM, which is an air ambulance, and I must stress, it's an air ambulance designed specifically to carry patients, landed at Kotoka International Airport in Accra, Ghana, and remained in the country for 5 days before departing 1 a.m. on March 25th, 2025, back to Gran Canaria.
In response, Joy News conducted its own investigation using Flight Radar 24, and a lead data and research analyst, Isaac Kofi, is here to share the findings. Kofi, what have you been finding?
Also, just like you said, we can confirm that indeed Air N823 AM actually landed in Ghana. And just like Reverend Intim just said, this is an air ambulance which is supposed to actually take patients. But what we understand or what we are learning is that this flight landed in Accra, Kotoka International Airport without performing such duty. And what we know is that it actually went back to Gran Canaria. And the reason why this has become interesting is that, look, we know Gran Canaria, just like Santorini, is known for its beautiful beaches. But if you go deep, you also know that because it is stationed between Europe, Africa, and then Latin America, it makes it one of the lucrative routes for drug trafficking. And we know how the Spanish authorities have always been on that island. And that's the reason why that $350 million worth of cocaine that was actually, confiscated is being linked to some of these things that's going on. What we understand per our checks is that the flight actually landed or arrived in Ghana on the 20th of March, 2025, and left 5 days after, on the 25th of March, 2025. It was supposed to actually do medical, come here for medical purposes. But what we understanding is that that side was not clear, but left without anybody knowing what was the main content or the main reason why the flight actually came to Ghana. There are other also issues. Now, let's actually track this whole thing. It didn't really start from, Gran Canaria. It actually moved from Santa Maria on the 19th of March, 2025 per our checks, and then went to Gran Canaria, right? And then on the 20th of March, it then flew from Gran Canaria to Accra, and then left Accra to Gran Canaria again, then from Gran Canaria to Santa Maria. And if you link all of this and then the kind of stories we are getting in terms of drug trafficking, that's why people are also raising concerns that, look, it cannot be just coincident that around that same time, we had to confiscate about $350 million worth of cocaine in the country. Now, if we do the math, just like I've said, that means that the flight spent about 5 days in the country. it is supposed to be a medical flight. So why must you spend that amount of time in the country?
Which means this is a very novel situation.
Yes, exactly. It's a very long time because it's supposed to be, you are supposed to fast track movement of patients, right? So if you land in Ghana, you spend five solid days in the country. That raises concerns and suspicion. So what we did was that we decided to visualize its movement for our viewers to understand what we actually did with the flight's radar. So let's look at how, that flight actually moved. And as you can see on the screens, this was its movement from Gran Canaria to Accra. And you can see it moving, crossing, and landing in Accra on the 20th of March 2025. Of course, we understand that it didn't just come from Gran Canaria. It actually started from Santa Maria. We are tracking. Just look at the island. The island sits between Africa and then, Latin America and then Europe, making it very, very, good position for transportation and all of that. Then let's look at when it moved from Ghana or Accra back to Gran Canaria in 5 days, maybe without performing that medical responsibility. Let's look at when it moved from Accra back to, Gran Canaria, and we can confirm that the flight actually landed. So as you can see on the 25th of March, you can see the flight moving from Accra back to Gran Canaria. And just like you can see, just look at the time. It moved from Accra somewhere around 2 o'clock, right? And then headed north to Gran Canaria, arrived there around 4, almost 5 o'clock when it arrived in Gran Canaria. And the question we're all asking is that this is an air ambulance. Why must it come and spend almost close to 5 days in the country?
Which means that the minority was not quite wrong in that.
Well, it's still early days yet. We are still trying to connect the dots and see what indeed the flights came to do in the country. But what we can understand is that, or what we can confirm is that indeed the flights actually landed in Accra. I'm
very fascinated with this technology. But I also know that the president has been reacting to this on his X Spaces, on his account. What exactly did he say?
He wants this to be investigated, and he says that he's actually working for the people, and he's actually gone ahead to put it on this, actually telling the NIB and other security agencies to go deep into this and find the root causes. He is actually acknowledging the fact that the minority are making, certain, claims, and he wants these claims to be investigated. And maybe we may be able to find what is actually the flight came to do in the country after that investigation. But what we can confirm is that, indeed, that flight actually landed in Ghana, spent 5 days before leaving.
All right. Well, meanwhile, security analyst Colonel retired Festus Abuaji has criticized the need for the president to order an investigation, suggesting that state security agencies should be informed or should inform the president prior to the matter going public. He also is advocating for a review of airport security protocols.
I am a bit concerned that it should not, under normal circumstances, it should not have taken the president to direct. Under normal circumstances, national security outfit should have been on top of the game and submitted a report to the president, informing him that A and B flights originating from whichever arrived in Ghana on so-and-so day for the purposes of A, B, C, D. One of them left immediately, the other one stayed for about 13 days and so on. That is how national security normally should have managed whatever that event or situation was. This appears to be a reverse order. That certain things had happened and it had taken the ranking member to draw the attention of Ghanaians, and that had then instigated the president to give that direction.
Now, away from that, the Ghana Armed Forces, in collaboration with the Chinese embassy in Ghana, have initiated negotiations to secure the release of 3 Chinese nationals abducted by pirates while fishing in Ghanaian waters. The incident, which occurred off Ghana's coast, has heightened concerns over maritime security in the region. Reports indicate that the 3 Chinese nationals were aboard a legally operating fishing vessel within Ghana's exclusive economic zone when armed pirates struck. The assailants overpowered the crew, seized the 3 foreign workers, and escaped in a speedboat. The remaining crew members managed to navigate back to shore and reported the attack to Ghanaian authorities. Now, Acting Director General of the Ghana Maritime Authority, Dr. Kamel Dean Ali, confirmed to my colleague Elton Brobe that negotiations are underway to secure the captives' release.
And it was very exhaustive for the period for which it was meant to be. It sent out clear information on the piracy incident and what critical stakeholders in the line of duty were doing in respect of that piracy attack. Clearly, it has taken a number of days now, and more information is available to us. This incident involved Mezzin 1, which is one of the fishing vessels under the flag of Ghana, off our coast. It was attacked in this most vulnerable position, and then 3 crew members were abducted. Reading through the news, since the one that has been issued by the Ghana Armed Forces, you will note that even the Chinese ministry and China as a country is confirming that the abducted citizens are
Chinese.
safe, that they are safe now. So that is at best what we can say now.
They are safe but not released.
Exactly, that their life is not in danger as we speak, not in danger as being killed or being injured, but quite a lot of discussion is going on between the major stakeholders in respect of that particular operation.
We don't know whether the kidnappers are asking for ransom.
Those are many matters that are and other issues that major stakeholders are handling now, and then we will leave them at that. And as and when there are developments that the public need to know, we would incrementally mention that. But it is sufficient to know that all the stakeholders, our national intelligence apparatus, the Ghana Maritime Authority, the Ghana Navy, in collaboration with neighboring countries, are working on this particular issue. Let's note that this is not an isolated issue to Ghana. Only 2 days before the Ghana incident, one happened in Equatorial Guinea, where Equatorial Guinea, Sao Tome and Principe. That didn't involve a commercial vessel. It even involved a normal, so it didn't involve a fishing vessel. It involved a normal vessel. Yes, some abductions took place.
Away from that, President John Dramani Mahama has fulfilled a key campaign promise by signing into a law a set of amended bills that abolish the betting tax, E-Levy tax, and emission tax, among others. The signing, which just began, has been completed. In his office, marks a major step in his administration efforts to reduce the financial burden on Ghanaians and drive economic growth. The removal of these taxes was a central promise in the NDC's manifesto aimed at easing the cost of living and encouraging business expansion. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbaba joins us with more. Maxwell, what more can you report?
Yes, like you rightly said, the president just finished signing those amended bills into law. Now, present in his office during the signing in ceremony, we had the Chief of Staff, Julius Gebra, was present, and Finance Minister Pasiala Kufofen was also present. We had presidential advisor Joyce Bar-Oktari. We also had Secretary also present in the room during the signing ceremony. Now, what happened was President Mahama explained the purpose for the amendment and why those taxes and other bills were being amended. So he explained the purpose, and then he moves on to sign the amended bill into law. The senior government officials who were present after the signing of each amended bill applauded him in his office. So aside from the betting tax, the E-Levy and emission tax, we have other key taxes also, and then key amended bills also, which have been signed into law. Now, a total of 8, just some minutes when we're about to leave the office, we were told that the Ghana Gold Board bill was also going to be signed, was also just about to be signed into law. You remember that over the weekend, Parliament passed that bill, and today we have the president signing that also, into law. So it's a big day here at the presidency. The president saying that he's excited that he's been able to.
Maxwell, this definitely is the last stage so that Ghanaians will be free of these taxes, right?
Well, exactly, yes. It's definitely the last stage. But state institutions like the Ghana Revenue Authority would have to recalibrate, their system to make sure that this is reflected anytime, you make any payment, especially when it comes to the E-Levy. Right. You do not bet. But for those who engage in betting also, there would have to be a recalibration of the system. But this is definitely the last step. And you can confidently see that these taxes, have been scrapped. Later in the day today, we're told the president is expected to visit some flood-prone areas. He should be moving in some minutes. I'll be bringing you up to speed on that.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Maxwell. Now, away from that, search for persons suspected to have gone missing in the collapse of a Galamsey pit at Mpasetia in Ashanti region have entered day 2. Now, the number of townsfolk engaged in the search have increased after the traditional authority called for support. 2 people were pronounced dead after being retrieved from the pits yesterday. It's unclear if some people remain trapped in the pit. A report by Nanaya Ojima.
So residents of Mpasetia have responded to calls from the traditional authority to all come in here and try find the people who went missing yesterday. As you can see, a lot of young men are here now, and with simple tools like pickers and shovels, they are all trying to dig the area they suspect that these people went missing in. So as you can see, it's a mining pit, and the kind of mining they do here, these people, they use these simple tools that they are using to dig deep pits, and these pits go deep into the bellies of the earth till they meet the gold ore, and that is what is important to them. According to the people that I met here, these are not people they know exactly who they are. They cannot identify these people. They came here yesterday morning, and they went about their duties trying to dig out some gold. And according to the people, the mine pit caved in, and that is how come these people went missing. As we reported yesterday, 2 of the people were able to retrieve 2 of the people, and both of them have been pronounced dead. As at now, it's unclear the number of people who are in the pit, because according to the people that we've been speaking to, these are people who did not go in as a group. They went as individuals, so it's very difficult to identify them. Let me talk to this gentleman who is leading the rescue effort, which is in the 2nd day. Sir, you want to talk about JoyNews. So, and namubaye again, I'm waiting here.
You mean I'm da sepa na edika na wo kan se bi ma memre mu ho ansa nam de abewie ha. Aha na adwuma sa de wo kan no sa na omode manpower ya ahyase no na community man wa ha wo aban dada na watwa mu no. Na aban foforo ba ya no no ase community man no obi afamra wieye. Nti amo mapam wo bia na mrante na ebegu ha no mo no. Eno omu hu se ha no mo no omu susu se bebo omu a na omu de omu ho den ekọ. Na omu de akwa ye adwuma nti sese no aye ahoho ena wiewie omu ho ba na bi akurumafo kakra bi. Na emum sanse na na mo mpene su nti na omu ba omu wie omu ho. Na omu ba be ye adwuma. Eno nti na ama adwuma na ye den ka ya de se na ka enyina eboa ya no a ka be hu nipa dodo e ba ye. Eni nipa omu tumi pie ye na ka ehu se nipa se na ka ye. And so esan say frama ankran ne be ye adwuma nti no what they say she dey nim nipa dodo nti ye afamu de se be ya ye be hu se na tie wo mu bia be firi mu ne nyina adwunu be ye fan se okra bia enko fom ti fiti anopa no num ne fa na emra tie wo kurom ha dua nyina no ye de ya ho odin eye bi se be ya na tie ni nyina be firi mu na afi obi adwunu be ye ne fan.
according to him, they've been here since 5 a.m. trying to dig out the sand in the pit to get out these people, if there are any who have gone missing in there. According to him, there used to be a community mining scheme being implemented here, but since the new government took over, the community mining was halted. So the people who had come in here for the community mining, they now on the blind side of authorities within the area, they come in here, or when they see or they suspect that there's gold somewhere, they come in here and try to dig out the gold. So it's not any form of organized mining. It's not organized. So it's becoming very difficult for the search party to locate the people who they suspect have gone missing in there.
We'll definitely bring you any development from that particular story. But away from that, the technical committee assigned to explore private sector participation in Ghana's power distribution companies is set to present its finding to the government today. Now, this report could have significant implications for the future of the Electricity Company of Ghana and the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, which you know as NEDCO, amid rising concerns from labor unions and industry stakeholders. My colleague Michael Ashale is on the grounds and joins me live with details. Michael, if you can hear me, what are the suggestions on the table?
Well, there are 3 suggestions on the table, but these are models the technical committee wants to put it. But these started with 8 models and are now being narrowed down to 3. But even before I tell you with these, which 3 models are on the table as it stands, or they are forwarded to the Minister of Energy, this is all stemming from the challenges that they identified. They tell us that they identified 9 major challenges when they assessed the work of ECG in particular, and some of them were administrative setup, the problems with governance, and then procurement which has strongly come up in recent weeks. Again, operational issues including high losses. This is resulting from collection losses and then power losses. Again, from the assessment, they realized that there was widespread customer dissatisfaction. I mean, these are all challenges related to ECG alone, but they also saw some challenges that may affect ECG but not directly emanating from ECG. This has to do with foreign exchange losses and then the seeming tariff gap also as well that ECG has to deal with every now and then. But all these challenges informed 3 models that the committee has now put before the Minister for Energy. The first one is entity concession, and they describe that as the whole distribution business being given to one business or entity. That would possibly mean a module like that of PDS being given there to run ECG. Also, another model that's on the table is multiple lease. That is breaking up the business of ECG and NEDCO and giving it to different private entities. There's also a final one, which is the service franchise, where private entities will be allowed to connect homes, and that will not be the work of ECG anymore. So these are the 3 modules that have now, or recommendations that have been given to the energy minister. Right. He tells us that he has received the recommendations in good faith. What is going to happen now is that they are going to write a white paper of a sort and then send it to the cabinet, which further consultations will happen, looking especially the cost involved and also how best scenario, which one will also be will work properly for the ECG as we have it now. We've been pushing to get hopefully which of these 3 models they will suggest to the minister. That hasn't come up, but they said these 3 recommendations, government has to choose one out of the day.
Well, this means that the minister didn't give us any timelines as to how soon these suggestions will be implemented.
Well, in relation to timelines, well, he wasn't specific, but he mentioned that after this, what is going to happen is that he's going to put together a position paper from the ministry to cabinet, and then further conversations will happen. He says that, well, a project consultant would have to be taken on board to look at these recommendations and narrow it down to possibly one, And then they also need the services of a financial advisor who will also look at the cost implications of any of these models. Now, after this work is done, that is when they can settle on either one or maybe a combination of these models, these 3 models that have been suggested from the technical committee. After that, that is only when they can have a proper timeline on when they can implement any of these things. But he gave us the assurance that it's something they are going to work assiduously, because this is a campaign promise from the John Mahama team as part of the reset agenda. Right. But also something that came up strongly is the update, because of the public interest there. The update on the missing containers, 1,300 of them. At the last update, we know that around 200 of them have been recovered because of operations from the National Investigation Bureau. Today, what he told us is that they are formally written to the Attorney General to start putting together a case against some of these individuals. Again, they're also working with the NIB and other state agencies to now consolidate the numbers. It says in due time, we don't know how soon that will be, but in due time, they hope to give us a consolidated figure, how many containers they managed to salvage so far, and where their next operation will be. He says that soon, some of these answers will be put out by the ministry.
Thank you, Michael. That's some good updates from you. Thank you so much. Now, away from that, let's go to the Ashanti region, where the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amakohene, has moved in to halt the establishment of a lorry terminal at the Blue Light Arena in Adum after the destruction caused by fire a week ago. Now, the Kumasi Traditional Council last week ordered the demolition of walls raised for lorry terminal, but a visit to the ravaged market revealed the terminal was near completion. Despite the order from the Traditional Council, Nana Yaojima has more in this report.
Sheds for the terminal are already raised with tiling of the area completed. With the construction done, the terminal is expected to start operations soon. Ashanti Regional Minister Dr. Frank Amakohene wants the operations halted.
When we visited this morning, we realized that there is a new station coming up just right under the footbridge. It's a not, and I engaged the person who had taken over that space, and I've told him to halt whatever he wants to do there. I've told the police commander and the NADMO to make sure that they clear that space off the 207 vans that they had brought in there. That place is not a station, and I wonder whoever gave that permit for that place to be used as a station. Now engage them so that we know that we are not giving room for another encroachment that would lead into any other disaster that may come up in the near future. So I've told them that they should stop work, and then they will come in for us to have a holistic discussion and relocate them if need be.
The fire ravaged 3 buildings occupied by the traders, with many makeshift structures being affected. Though police have cordoned the area, some persons are making attempts to return to occupy the space. Dr. Amakohene says the police have been directed to stop the return of the traders as report on structural integrity of the buildings is completed.
When I visited the place this morning, I realized that the traders have started moving in. Those buildings are a bed so much damaged to the extent that if you don't take steps now and intervene, and we allow people to go in there, it may collapse and may give us additional problems on our hands. So, as it were, I've instructed the police commander and the NADMO team to make sure that they prevent people from having access into those buildings. We've conducted a structural integrity test on all those buildings. The report is ready. I discussed with KMA on Thursday at the assembly and get the approval for some key recommendations they have put in the report. Then also with His Royal Majesty 2482. After all these consultations, then I'll present the final report to His Excellency the President, so that in making a decision, as President, His Excellency can have in mind all the stakeholders involved in this whole issue, so that we can have a holistic decision and a stakeholder conversation moving on into redeveloping the place.
Meanwhile, the traders are asked to exercise restraint in anticipation of their Asante-Hene's determination on the land. For JoyNews, Nana Yaojima reporting.
Now, still in the Ashanti region, traders whose businesses were severely affected by last week's devastating fire at the Adum PZ market in Kumasi have returned to the area in an attempt to resume sales despite an official evacuation order. Now, the fire, which destroyed a significant portion of the market, resulted in millions of cedis in damages. Numerous stalls were lost, leaving many traders struggling to salvage what little stock remained. Authorities had issued an evacuation notice, urging traders to stay away from the site until further consultations are held with the Asantehene. However, many traders have ignored the directive, returning to their spaces in a bid to quickly resume their livelihoods.
Place looks like construction is still underway to create a pathway for emergency cases, and traders are still crowded over here, devastated about the incident that took out millions of cedis of their properties as well. You can see an excavator that was brought in by the regional minister to create the pathway. Today, the former NPP vice presidential candidate, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, came in to make a donation of 50,000 Ghana cedis plus 500 bags of cement to the affected traders. Already the former vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, who's also the former NPP's flag bearer, has been here. He donated 200,000 Ghana cedis, and we've also had the NPP national executives who've been here to also make a donation to these affected traders. We have to speak to the chairman of the Adum PZ Traders Association, who did receive this donation on behalf of the traders. Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh wababe donation no yeti for moshe sika sen ene niema be na obeka se Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh ede bremo
medase yewra Matthew Opoku Prempeh waba obesa ani akasa wakan kranhyasem akire na sika na woka no 500,000 Ghana cedis 50,000 Ghana cedis and 500 bags of cement and now the amount is yedwumedie no yemfa emwa entu bu samena de hon
na what ni etri na atoye nchemi eto mo esie sise no mabrabo mu tisei den na mo ye wo Adum hanum sei
ya brabo mu de mintimi ka se eye but ye ti ase de be fa ne sai Awurade Adum nti na hwese obi a wo ye adwuma na wakoda enyane na nopa obeti ane se woni nyina ahye enti abrabo mu nsam de ye gina hai ye ni abre papa fi se ade achi anopa ye ni baabia ayekọ ye dwetire nyina ahye enti de ehwa ne se panifo no enhihye bia so mu ye bia no omba ya na aye ntem amaye ni atime nya kwan asa betena baabia ne atie no ni atime aye adwuma enti se bu samede a ya sitram de enkoyie
se amasetena mu enkoyie no na wo kasa wo hwesa aban be ye niema bia ma mu no niema be nsa na mo hwe ni mu
Madina kasa de sese de akosie ne se ye na otumfo otia na chi kakra o mai anti ye watwen ye mu a na de aka ne se dwumadi ne nyina achi no ye be pese enkan ya be kekan ho abom na yetimi asi edwa no ebi se ene de se edwa wona se be bi sa hye ko ja aban so a ne je se akoyense bebre fi se de ewodan so kora no ontimi enya ho adwuma enti de aka ne se ye de tumpanimfo no ba bi ko bia so de aka so mo mai kwan na yentimi ansi ye akasa be kekan ho bom na esi ye dan
na emwa se mwanya no sika ye de aboa mu nyina no mu komanim kakra
me pa so ye ko anim pa na sika ne de enam se baasa no ye nyina ye wasasi so nyina kan mu abom ani ate eko baako United Traders Association ana ebie bank yakọ accounts e bank enti no sika bia benya bia ne dimnika ne da kotum sika benya bia ne dimnika ne nyina ne se ye nim sikasam de woyen ma eba ne mo de aka ne se adofo no so no obia mo bi obia no onfa moye na se de do ne de ye ho akire pa
Yebeda Sibibre, and that is the chairman of the United.
Away from the Ashanti region, the Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwame Governs Agbuja, has directed 2 local contractors, First Sky and Oswald Investments, to begin immediate remedial works on the Ashaman runabout to Afienya and Tema motorway to Dowenya stretch. With constructions dragging at a frustratingly slow pace, the roads have become a nightmare for users, choking with gridlock, thick with dust, and pushing commuters to their limits. Kweku Asante was with the minister when he went to see firsthand the situation on the roads and now reports.
Traffic, eternal gridlock at Dowenya and Afienya, an all too familiar torment for thousands of road users. narrow, crumbling road stretches, the agony of a few kilometers into hours of frustration. For years, this has been the story, one of slow-moving construction, dashed hopes, and a community on the edge of disillusionment.
As we were here a few weeks ago, and we met the contractors working on the Ashama runabout to Atimpoku, Inzag, and we drew that attention to the fact that it is their responsibility to keep maintaining the road, even as they construct. I haven't seen much work, especially since we left, in terms of Ashama runabout to beyond Afienya. There were spots that we thought they could have remedied up to now, they haven't. BHM, they are not even available. That is a fact.
The roads minister, Kwame Gavins Abuja, is losing patience with contractors dragging their feet. He isn't just watching from the sidelines, he's calling them out. Kwame Abuja's message is clear. The government is committed to completing these roads, and excuses will no longer be tolerated.
I think their concern is that they want to know whether government is committed to this. The president said it in his State of the Nation address that we are committed to complete this project. The finance minister said it in his budget statement that we are committed to do this way. I said it in parliament. So I don't know what assurance they still need. They know the process, as enshrined in the debt restructuring, requires certain steps to be taken at certain times. So I feel disappointed that they have not delivered as required. But let them also be aware that the maintenance of the work, the site, as there is a breach. If they fail, it's a breach. And I could cite them for a breach of the contract as well.
In a bid to provide some relief, the minister has directed 2 local contractors to carry out immediate spot maintenance. The goal to offer some breathing space while the main construction resumes.
And immediately, I'm asking First Sky Group to help MMU to remedy all that we can do to ease the problem on the motorway runabout towards Central University. And immediately, I'm asking Oswald to also work on the Ashama runabout to beyond Michelle Camp, and everything we can do as a remedial activity to improve the surface of the road whilst we do the road, main construction. I ask them to do that immediately.
You're watching News Today. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, business, please stay.
Hello, good afternoon to you, and a warm welcome to the business segment on Joy News Today with me, Pius Kojobaka. Inflation rate for March 2025 has slowed to 22.4%, down from 23.1% recorded in February 2025. That's according to latest figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service. The decline is attributed to a slowdown in the general price levels of certain food items, making the second consecutive drop in food prices. This is the lowest inflation rate the country has seen since November 2024. Here's government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobnenim. The Ghana Chamber of Mines has debunked assertions that mining companies repatriate a greater share of mineral revenues offshore. The chamber argues that a chunk of revenues from the extractive sector are retained in the country and reinvested into operations and other corporate social activities. Addressing the media director for external relations and communications at the chamber, Ahmed Naktongma, said the chamber will continue to contribute its quota to government's revenue mobilization measures.
Between 2020 and 2023, the Chamber's member companies spent an average of $2.87 billion annually on locally sourced goods and services, whilst tax contributions and corporate social investments averaged $1.19 billion and $32 million, respectively. These domestic expenditures are the primary channels through which mineral revenue support national development. From 2020 to 2023, approximately 75% of revenues support national development. Of mineral revenues were repatriated through local financial institutions. So about whatever we get, about 75% comes back to Ghana through the financial institutions and the Bank of Ghana. So this counters the claim that a disproportionate share of the mineral revenues are offshore. A lot of people, learned people, senior people will say, and the mining companies keep all the money offshore. And they keep all the money offshore. They bring only 10% back. That can never be true. Because how would you pay your taxes? How would you pay for the diesel, the electricity? So that is, when they get the revenue, 70% comes back to Ghana. and it is spent within Ghana, and that money it comes back also in dollars. So it's used to shore up our foreign exchange portfolio. So to enhance transparency and accountability in mineral revenue management, the Chamber has been advocating for a legislative framework similar to the Petroleum Revenue Management Act for the mining sector. Such a policy would highlight mining's significant role in national development.
And that's it for business for now. That will be at 1 p.m. with the marketplace. Sports is next.